That motion clearly failed. Is there any other unreadiness on this resolution? Burkina Faso?
Burkina Faso moves to change operating council review to encourage more participation in governance of establish minimum seats in order to reach a 30% goal by 2015.
Can you repeat that?
Cut off to 30% and put in order to reach 30% goal by 2015.
Is there a second to that? That motion clearly fails. Is there any other unreadiness on this resolution? Seeing none, can I have two speakers against this resolution? DRC and Libya? DRC?
Honorable Chair, distinguished guests, I'd like to draw your attention to a simple scenario. Someone asks you to go to dinner. You can't afford it. Do you just go? I mean, it makes no sense. You can't afford to do it.
Can I have the quorum, please?
My apologies. The point I'm making is that if we did add the amendment, economically capable nations, this would have been a great resolution. But since though we did not add that, I just think it's pointless to pass this resolution because some of the nations in here, not to put your dirty laundry out or anything like that, you just can't afford to do this. Like, it makes no sense. So I strongly urge you to not vote for a resolution that is not clearly possible in the real world.
Thank you. Libya?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Distinguished delegates. With the people, Libya would like to advise this August Garden once again that the issues that this resolution is addressing is very sensitive and should be left for individual nations to handle. And I want to use this opportunity again to remind the Islamic nations in this gathering that this resolution, I don't know how you will support this resolution. And I urge all members to vote massively against this resolution.
Thank you. Can we please have the quorum in the room? This side of the room is talking entirely too much behind the excellencies. All in favor of this resolution passing, please raise your placard. All in favor of this resolution passing, please raise your placard. All opposed? This resolution passes. Delegate from Uganda.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Uganda would like to add an amendment to clause 2, and that would be to add subclause C, and it would read, urges Zimbabwe to revert Operation Muramatira.
Could you repeat that, please?
Urges Zimbabwe to revert Operation Muramatira.
Yes. Could you please repeat that one more time?
Certainly. It would add subclause C under clause 2, and it would read, urges Zimbabwe to revert Operation Muramatira.
What's the last word he said?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat it one more time?
It's not a word in English. Muramatira is just the name of a policy that is currently placing in Zimbabwe, and I will explain it in the Against-Define and Recognize the Chair.
One point of information. Could you like write it down to you and present to the staff?
It's a policy that Zimbabwe has, is what he's proposing.
But if it's proposed
Seeing the kindness of Uganda, the delegate of Burkina Faso would like to further explain what that is.
Delegate from Uganda, could you please explain to the delegation what you mean?
My pleasure. Fellow delegates, Regina Messina said this at the core of the organic conflict in Zimbabwe currently. It's actually a policy that calls for the destruction of a lot of houses throughout the cities of Zimbabwe. It has left a lot of displaced persons. And this is a topic that has to be addressed. And we believe that it would add substance to this resolution. So please, vote for that.
Is there a second to that motion? Seeing none, the motion fails. Is there any other unready motion?
There was a second.
You need two. Is there any other unreadiness on this resolution?
There's 2 seconds.
That motion passed already, it failed already. Is there any other unreadiness on this resolution? Kamora?
In clause number 3, I would like to strike Zimbabwe for all refugees.
Is there a second for the amendment proposed by Kamara? Seeing none, that amendment fails. Is there any other unreadiness on this resolution?
Point of Madam Chair, the delegate from Burkina Faso wishes to once again remind you that due to our francophone nature, we understand English a little bit slowly. So would you please cut down on
I
the speed?
apologize.
It's
Okay.
technical. Thank you.
Is there any other unreadiness on this resolution? Delegate from Zimbabwe?
The delegation of Zimbabwe would like to change clause number 1 to affirms the need for effective change in Zimbabwe through the removal of outside tension.
Could you repeat that? Could we have the quorum, please? If we're quiet in the room, we can hear them. Could you please repeat that?
Affirms the need for the effective change in Zimbabwe through removal of outside tension.
Is there a second to that motion? Any opposed? Can I have one speaker for, one speaker against? One speaker for the motion, one speaker against Zimbabwe, Botswana, Zimbabwe.
As you all may know, we have various sanctions that are against us, and that is why we have an economic crisis. We don't have economic, we have an economic crisis. We seek help from our African brothers and sisters to come and aid us. We do not support outside help. We seek the help of the African Union, and therefore feel that the sanctions that are imposed on us by our African sisters should be removed.
Thank you. Botswana?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Distinguished delegates, delegate from Botswana, I'd like to note that the sanctions being imposed on Zimbabwe are not sanctions of this body, but in fact from outside, from the United States. So we are looking to create effective change. This is a way to do that. This is a way to get to that point where we are able to remove those sanctions so that we can create the effective change that is entirely necessary in Zimbabwe. And I urge you to vote on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of the amendment proposed by Zimbabwe, please raise your placards. All opposed? That motion clearly fails. Is there any other unreadiness on this resolution? Zimbabwe?
Zimbabwe seeks to strike clause number 3.
Please raise your placards. All opposed?
I just want to say something. If you guys want your votes counted accurately, you have to vote immediately and you have to vote high. Because if it's not immediate, if you raise your vote when the vote is already being counted, we won't count you. So, I mean, if you want your vote to be counted fairly, you have to act immediately and raise the vote high. Thank you.
Only that, do not put your placard down until she asks for the opposing or the next vote. Because what's happening is that if I go this way, she's going this way, people who think I'm counting this way are putting their placards down and not allowing for a second chance to vote.
Keep that action, keep that action.
We'll do a recount. All in favor of this resolution, please raise your placard. All opposed? This resolution failed, 18 to 15. We will now recess for lunch. Due to report back here by 2 o'clock. By 1 o'clock.
These are our voting heads of state with their advisors. Speak up. That's his next step.
They thought I was, some people thought I might have been too soft, like I should have been harder on exercising, like saying, no, you can't do this, you can't. I don't think that.
I think you were very diplomatic and very fair.
Facial expressions is killing me. I'm sitting back there like,
somebody said they didn't shape up you would pick them up.
oh yeah, he definitely told me.
Yeah, because they kept DRCs and the doors to the media. And some of the people called it like talking. And I kept telling them, yeah, because I did more than once.
We got to the point where every time we went to say something, he had to go, can I have the phone?
Right. And they just told me, and I got tired of people saying, well, I can't hear. So everybody had to
The table, only people at the table, all the crowd go outside or something.
I thought you were very out.
Thank you.
So we're all well accepted, the rest of our delegation who's not here.
I know Diana, she told me that she probably was going to come late. Why would they come late? I don't know.
They should not be late. They should be here 9 o'clock.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to.
He's just voting off the.
Yeah.
Because he's not. And that's another reason that's why I supported the Win Rights thing, because the rest of our people are here. And
I understood
Who
everybody.
else is in Senegal?
That's the.
Wait a minute, just
Macon and Diana.
So Diana needs to be here to support you. And Brent and Bianca are in Kenya.
At least you have two competent people though, yeah, so they can make valid decisions. But still, when these security matters come up, or social matters come up,
I'm sitting there like,
Especially when you've chaired.
yeah, it's like, you know, I mean, we can just go off our general knowledge, but
I'm like, but social matters, I'm like, if it's a pro-woman, from what they said at the embassy, I'm voting on that, like, because Kenya's pro-women.
So how about we do this? Would you all like me to take you out to lunch?
I'm starving.
And I would suggest we go right over here because we really don't have time. It's expensive, but Professor will go at home.
we can't just drive like somewhere.
It's going to be, I mean, there's traffic. And if we walk and come back, you need to be here. So they're saying come back at 1 o'clock. I thought she said, no, she said 1.
1.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock.
She said 1 o'clock.
We're not going to 6 today.
And this will be done in my Senate with the man quoted on women's representation. Support this and it's right. Clause number 1, we already passed on
Mr. Chair, the resolution he's referring to always says government, it does not specifically say national. Resolution in present in front of us says national legislators and lower electoral offices specifically. So I'll make a motion that it stays.
We move to a vote. All those in favor of striking clause 1 from the resolution, please raise your flag. All those in favor?
I'm not sure about the amendment.
The amendment was call upon countries to allocate more funds to remove voting political structures, replacing the word all with the word voting for action clause 2. That is the amendment on the table. I'm going to entertain, you want to be from the speakers, if you want to for or against. There has been a motion. Does you want to for or against speakers list at this time? You want to speak against? Okay, so we move to a vote.
We're speaking against the resolution. I thought we were voting on his amendment.
No, I'm sorry, the amendment. I apologize. The amendment. Okay, we move to a vote. All those in favor of passing the amendment, expressing the word all and replacing with voting, please raise your flag. All those against? Motion failed. Is there any business? Yes, sir.
I motion to amend this resolution by striking action from 3, 2, and 1.
So you're striking all action. Do you have a second? Do you have any opposed? Can I get one speaker for, one speaker against? GRC is for, not against or against. 1 minute, GRC.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, I believe that the purpose of this body is not to just pass pieces of paper that read certain things that we may be fond of. We just passed a resolution that is practically identical to the last one that addresses the same situation in a manner that I do not understand where we're going to get the funding for it. So I do not see the purpose of passing another resolution with the same, not necessarily the same rhetoric, but the ideas of the resolution are practically the same. So why should we vote for a resolution that's already not possible in the first place? And we've already passed one similar to that. I just don't understand it. So hopefully, if anyone does understand, please send me a note because I would love to understand. So I strongly urge you to strike 329.
Yes, as the delegate just mentioned, he says singular. He didn't say exact. That particular resolution was for human rights. My particular resolution is for social matters. This resolution is very important for the African country as a whole, so that it could be more equality for women to be a part of the voting process, not only in the governmental aspect, but in the statewide and countrywide. So this action clause 1, 2, and 3, I recommend they stay in place and we move forward to a vote.
All those in favor of striking clauses 3, 2, and 1, please raise your flag. All those opposed? The amendment fails.
Point of information.
Yeah.
Action clause 1 is stricken out of the resolution.
No, it fails. Is there any other? Yes, I get it. Because the numbers are changing, we will respect the abstentions. Now, the 2/3 will be calculated as this. If the negative number, the people in the negative, if twice that number exceeds the number of positive, then the vote goes away. The vote fails. For instance, in this situation, with 20 to 8, even with 3 abstentions, it's still 20 to 8. That means 8 times 2 is 16. That means the vote still passes because 20 is higher than 16, and therefore we go. Whereas if the case was 8 in the positive, 20 in the negative, you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So that way it'd be easy to calculate for everyone. All right? Yes.
So are we going to make sure that the delegates that call present and voting are voting?
The problem with that statement, and this was addressed during the recess, the problem with that is that not everyone was made aware of how that terminology is used. It was decided by the secretary, was decided that to go along with just, if you say present voting, everyone's vote is going to be counted, regardless. That is why we allow the abstention. Because if you choose to go by strict rules, even people who say present with no voting will not be able to vote abstention. That means they can't vote anything. Because so many people were saying present and not saying present with voting, that eliminates half the room of voting. So it was clear to us that there was a miscommunication as far as how people were saying present. Well, I understand that many of you, this is not your choice out here, so you understand the rules a lot better. But in the interest of the entire assembly, I had to allow that people just say present and allow their vote to count regardless of if they said with voting.
Just so that it's clear, I'm going to name off the countries that chose to abstain, just so, and correct me if I am wrong. Have Namibia, okay, let me finish. Namibia, South Africa, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. You said Namibia did not choose to abstain.
She doesn't mean abstain from the amendment. She
No.
means
When you began a roll call, not
the option of abstaining.
Yeah. Okay. So, I just.
Listen. Everybody understand what I said? That the present and voting does not matter. As long as you're present, everyone is voting. If you feel you need to vote abstention, you're able to vote abstention. Does everybody understand that? Everybody understand how the voting majority, 2/3 majorities work? Okay, thank you. Now, does anybody have any further amendments? Yes. Yes, I will allow that. Now, yes.
So under the rules, did that last amendment pass?
Yes, the last amendment did pass under the rules. And apparently there was miscommunication, okay? So, again, does the last amendment of breaking and disassembling political structures, all those in favor of that amendment, please raise your placards. And do not lower your placards until I ask you the next syllable. All those opposed? The amendment passes 21 to 9.
Moves to amend operating clause number 1 to read, recommends member state government for promoting women's representation in national legislature and law electoral office.
Encouraging people to do that. Sometimes we do get lost in our own personal feelings. It happens. We just have to remain in character all the time. That's all. Senegal Committee on Economic Matters, Economic Effects of Toxic Waste Burial and African Development. Is there any unreadiness to act on this resolution? Seeing none, I move to anyone against the resolution at all. Seeing none, I move to a direct vote. Those in favor of passing a resolution from the Economic Matters Committee, Economic Effects of Toxic Waste Burial and African Development, please raise your flag. All those against? The resolution passes. African Human Rights Committee, Women's Property Rights in Africa. Is there any unreadiness to act on this resolution? Dr. Wong.
Nation by Conrad would like to amend the resolution to strike action clause 2 and remove the words beyond customary laws from action clause 2.
Did not protect women's right to their homes that they might be shut out of because of abandonment, because of violence, because of HIV and AIDS. So if we do not extend the law to protect their property rights beyond customary law, if any of these things happen, they'll be shut out of their homes and be forced to more degradation than they already are, that's already imposed on them currently.
Move to a vote on the proposed amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your flag. All those opposed? The amendment fails. Is there another amendment?
I motion to strike action clause 2 and 3.
Do I get a second? Okay. Is there anyone opposed? Can I get a speaker for, against, for? Liberia, again?
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, again, I say we've already passed the resolution already passed a resolution that calls for a committee to address the same things that this resolution addresses. I feel as though we'd be wasting time in this body. Again, I say I apologize to the delegates who wrote this resolution. I honestly feel as though their intentions were good intentions, but I feel as though this resolution should not pass, and that we should strike out action clause 2 and 3 and move on with these proceedings. Thank you. I strongly urge that you vote not, that you strike out action clause 2 and 3.
Librarian. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and honorable delegates. Striking both those action clauses would severely weaken not only this document, but weaken the struggle for women's rights throughout Africa. Many countries are already working on these items, including Liberia, and this will only strengthen their cause. So money's already being spent on this, and if AU can get behind it, it will only strengthen that issue and make it, put it to the forefront and protect more women, their property, their lives, and their futures. Thank you.
I move to vote on the amendment. All those in favor of striking 2 and 3 from the resolution, please raise your buttons.
We acknowledge what they
So you're saying a second? You have a second? Yeah. Demand the African Union to legally mandate via optional multilateral agreement the acknowledgement and so on. Is there a second? Seeing none, the amendment fails. Is there another amendment on the table? Seeing none, I move, is there anyone in opposition to the resolution? CR2. I'll give you a minute.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, I think it's outrage for any delegate at this table to insinuate that the Democratic Republic of Congo is not for women's rights. I think that's
vote according to the standards of the character of our nations. And with that in mind, this does violate the sovereignty of nations and people within those nations who would like the opportunity to be under customary law. It is very strong in Botswana, and I urge you to vote against this resolution.
We move to the vote. All those in favor of this resolution, women's property rights in Africa, please raise your flag. All those against?
Not get anything done. The governments are in a standstill to stay where they are. We need to strongly uphold them for how they are and what they are until they decide that they want to change themselves. And that has always been the AU stance on these things.
I move to the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution and provision of ethnic conflict in Burundi, please raise your flag. All those against? The resolution failed. Technical Committee on Social Matters, Situation of Refugees, Displaced Persons, and Returnees. Is there any unreadiness to act on this resolution? Liberia.
Motion to strike action clause 1, proposing that affirmation for the applicant itself the primary source of his house, mitigation.
It calls upon ECOWAS member states to send civilian monitors to Cote d'Ivoire to monitor elections.
Do you have a second? Do you have opposition? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing the amendment, please raise your flag. All those against? The amendment fails. Yes. 19 to 10. Is there any unreadiness to act on the resolution?
I move to strike action clause 2.
The motion on the table to strike action clause 2 in the resolution. Do I have a second? Second. Is there any opposition? Can I have a speaker for and a speaker against? Lydia, for. Anyone against? A speaker against? Sierra Leone? Lydia?
Thank you, fellow delegate. We the people of Libya think that the action clause 2 is inappropriate. You cannot send any civilian to monitor any country's election except that country is accepting that you send a civilian to monitor their election. True. Okay, I thought it was amended, sorry. You cannot send troops to monitor election in another country. I don't know if we were trying to encourage invading other countries. So I think it is inappropriate. Thank you.
The delegate certainly would like to point out that one side of data structure with election observers is that these election observers are very important because, again, we've had 5 years to find solutions to this conflict. What is needed now is, as my friend from Guinea pointed out, we need to get the election underway as soon as possible. To say no election will just continue fighting in the country.
We're getting noise in the back. We need to vote on the amendment. All those in favor of striking action clause 2, please raise your placard. All those against? The amendment fails. Is there any unreadiness to act on this resolution?
I move to amend this resolution by striking action clause 2 and adding to action clause 1 at the end and help monitor elections.
I will only allow the second part of the resolution because the first part, the strike action clause 2, was failed.
This would change it because it was still having people arguing that we need to monitor the elections, and I'm adding that to the first clause.
Well, then we'll have to divide that question, we have to divide that amendment. If you want to do the first amendment, the second part of your amendment, that is to address action clause 1, let's do that. And if you wish to amend it again after that, then we can.
Point of information.
Yeah.
Can you repeat what she said? Because action clause 1 is talking about troops.
I understand. Can you repeat?
Okay. My amendment would be proposes that the AU encourage member states to volunteer troops to assist in peacekeeping and help monitor elections.
done in previous, was that done in previous resolution?
Point of order. Point of order.
Yes.
It says you can't replace completely the original proposal. It doesn't say you can't strike all the clauses. Replace means you're changing the complete intent. Striking means you're removing all the clauses.
All right. Because we originally started with allowing clauses to be stricken from the resolution, we will continue with that practice. Yes.
The people of Libya would like to let the chair address Burkina Faso to speak louder. Next time we speak and then stand up because we didn't get actually what Burkina Faso was saying.
Now, we have made attempts in the first session to explain to everyone that, one, we don't have mics, so we need to speak louder. It's important that I haven't been stressing the fact that you need to stand up. I haven't been stressing the fact that you need to speak towards me, because I understand that we are limited in our being able to speak. So I'm encouraging everyone to speak loud enough and clear enough so everyone can hear you. If you are speaking, for instance, Burkina Faso, and your point is not being clear to them, they're not going to be able to understand your point. So they are going to judge according to what they already know and not to what you're going to say to them. You understand what I'm saying? So it's important that each person attempts to explain themselves as clear as possible, because your point of view may not be heard, and therefore a vote that could have been in your favor will not be. So it is your choice, really, to speak loud enough so everyone is able to hear you. Does everyone understand? Right. Okay. Yes. Is there any opposed to the motion to strike all clauses? Yes.
The delegate from Burkina Faso, you should inquire whether it will be in order for this House to then go ahead and strike off resolution that the same House has already resolved to keep.
Point of order.
As far as this delegate is concerned, the previous one to strike a resolution was denied on that same basis.
Point of order.
We is therefore in order.
I understand. I'm not going to listen. The First Amendment, I understand you're saying the Amendment 2 to strike clause 2, correct? And then they come back and strike all the clauses. We're leaving this up to the democratic process. If the original intent was to strike clause 2 and keep the proposal on the table, now the intent is to get rid of the proposal as a whole. So therefore, the intention, even though the amendment is the same, the intention is different. So therefore, that proposal can be allowed at this time. If the committee feels that it needs to be seconded and goes to a vote, then let it be that. And the committee feels that they agree with that, then let it be that as well. Now, we have a second on the table. We did. So now we move to a vote. All those in favor of striking all 4 clauses from the resolution, please raise your flag.